Welcome to this week's 52 Circles, and our prompt this week is pleat. So I'm going to start this week with a piece of painted calico that I've got left over from demonstrating something at a workshop. So this is just diluted acrylic paint and ink, and I'm going to cut a square from that is quite a bit bigger than my circle template, because obviously when we pleat it, it's going to shrink in size. So I'm giving myself plenty of room to play and kind of choosing an interesting area of the painted fabric that's got some tonal contrast to it to add to the effect. Now I'm moving on to the sewing machine, and I folded over a section, and I'm using the edge of the presser foot as a guide to keep my line of straight stitching accurate, and then folding over the next section and adding another line of stitching. So I'm pleating some ridges into this fabric so it will become three-dimensional. It will have a kind of raised surface to it, and I'm just working my way across the surface of the fabric. I'm not being particularly neat about it. You could measure it out if you want it to be super accurate. And I'm left with this textured ridge surface, which I quite like, making sure that I've got enough for my circle. And now I want to add an extra dimension. So I'm going to sew all of the pleats flat in one direction. So I'm working across at 90 degrees to the original pleat. And then I'm turning my fabric, and for the next row, I'm pushing all of the pleats in the opposite direction. So I'm going to create a wavy effect. It takes quite a bit of focus just to get those to stay flat while you're stitching and keep your fingers out of the way. But you can get quite an interesting kind of effect with that. Obviously, the thicker the fabric, the further apart your kind of waves need to be. But with a fine fabric, you can do this quite close together, so you get a really, really intensely textured sample. And I quite like the way that this is just playing with the painted surface. It's kind of giving a different effect and creating a different wave of colour across the fabric. Obviously, this is quite regimented. You could vary the kind of how close your lines of stitching are together to create different effects if you wanted a looser effect. Now I'm using my calico circle as a template, and I'm just using a pair of shears to trim round there to get the finished sample. Obviously that discarded bit will feature somewhere else in something else, nothing is wasted. And here's my finished sample. I quite like the way that it kind of disrupts the surface of that painted effect. And I look forward to seeing yours. Enjoy playing, and I'll see you next week.